We have to talk. Because if we don't talk, I'm not going to get any sleep. Got to get rid of the shine on those glasses. These are very expensive glasses. They better not have a shine. I've got some bad news, people. We need to talk. It's only bad news if you uh, are terrified of Donald Trump, which I am. It's very important for readers, for tarot readers, and for psychics to do their best to not manipulate the cards. Just read the cards as they are. The cards have been very, very good for Donald Trump. The cards have been good to the point where I think that Donald Trump could win the election in 2024. Now, let's go ahead and let's analyze it. Let's analyze everything that the Republicans are doing right, and let's look at everything the Democrats are doing wrong. For starters, we need to get rid of all of the emotionalism. People are having emotional responses, and they're not looking at this like a race, and they're not looking at it from the perspective of what's going to help us win the race. The reason why Donald Trump is likely going to win if things don't change is because of the trade war. I feel like Democrats don't listen, and this is why we lose elections. The momentum right now in the business world, the money, the business is with Donald Trump, away from Biden. And that is because people are tired of war. There is an energetic feeling that people are just exhausted and they will make any deal because they just, happy days are here again. You know, that great feeling you get when the war is over. Happy days are here again. So you have these business people that are making the fatal mathematical mistake of thinking that they can do business with Putin, that they can do business with Khamenei out of Iran, if they just renegotiate a couple of trade routes, and then we can work on slowly developing some cultural reform. It'll all be great. Happy days are here again. You're living in a dream world. You're living in a dream world, and the dream world is very dangerous for the future of the planet, because one of the most fatalistic things we can do right now is underestimate just how much our enemies hate us. What can Democrats do to push against, excuse me, this desire, this dream, this hope that people have that happy days are here again? We're going to have this great end to the war. We can all get back to business and it can all be kumbaya. It's not the real world, folks. That's not the real world. Sorry. I apologize. I have a cough. Please do your own math. If you're trying to calculate the least amount of deaths, I'm not talking about how do we get business up and running. You see, some people are trying to get to Mars, and I get that. You want to get to Mars, but I'm doing a different calculation. I'm trying to get to least amount of deaths. So what is the answer depends on what's the question. So the question I have is, how do we get to least amount of deaths? Well, clearly, you get to cease fire, phase one. You got to stop people shooting each other. And the second is you got to get the crazy people as far away from you as possible, exchanging hostages, prisoners, luring Hamas. What do you do with all these nut jobs? You send them somewhere where they're willing to be hosted. You lure them out of there. 3, you engage in the rebuild with a percentage going towards Oasis, etc. Now the math gets tricky. Number 4, you have to dismantle Putin. You have to dismantle Putin because we don't have a negotiating partner in Putin. You're living in a dream world if you think that you can reopen trade with the East with Putin. You cannot. He is not a trade partner. And so I get it. I get it. I get it. I get why everybody is floating around in some fantasy because they so desperately want to get the trade up and running. What I want you Democrats, my fellow Democrats, to do is wake up. And if you don't understand what's really going on, we've lost this election. This is not about reason. Do you understand? This is emotionalism. And even people who claim they're the most logical, rational people in the world, well, little lady, if I'm wrong about voting for Trump, well, convince me otherwise. If you're right about voting for Trump, convince me. Because my math tells me that Trump is going to wipe out Israel in the next 4 years. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? There isn't going to be a state of Israel in the next 4 years if we have 4 years of Trump. And that's because this is the guy that pulled U.S. troops out of Syria and the Middle East, and specifically so that he could help the East get its military in Hezbollah. And now we are being fired on from the North because of the deal that Donald Trump made with Putin. Putin, whose birthday is October 7th, who choreographed with Hamas the pogrom that led to the deaths and rapes of more than 1,200 Israelis, kidnapped, now in captivity for 8 months. All of that was done because of the East. And if anybody thinks, if you're living in some fucking fantasy, I'm sorry, that these Nazis, that these people that engaged in a pogrom, you're going to sit around singing Kumbaya and that Trump happy days, he's going to get Putin to sign this peace treaty. First off, I want to go on record saying it has nothing to do with my math. It has nothing to do with Oasis One. And if you come in and do the rebuild, if you're holding off on the rebuild until you can have Donald Trump get credit, he has nothing to do with me. Don't give him credit for the rebuild. It's got nothing to do with him. It's got nothing to do with Netanyahu. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Quite the opposite. Netanyahu's policies, this should have happened a long time ago. We should have worked on integration. We had studies out of the Negev on integration. We knew how to unify Israel. He fought against, he created the animosity. Netanyahu is not the solution. He is the problem. He and his friend Trump, they are everything that has led us to this point. And it's wake up, people. I understand you're frustrated by the sanctions. We're all frustrated by the sanctions. Nobody gets it bigger than you. Have no idea how empathetic I am. I do my job. I am an empath. I am a hired empath. I get trained. I am trained and paid. I am trained and paid to train other profilers. It is my job to do profiles for psychiatrists, for the FBI. This is my job. Do you understand? We have fun here. We entertain people. I do profiles. I've done profiles on Elon Musk. I've done profiles on Donald Trump. I've done extensive profiles on Putin and what motivates Putin. It's always been about trade. It's all about trade. And there's a couple things that have to happen. Number one, we have to smack the Republicans into reality. They have to see reality. We know you want peace and happy days are here again. This guy's going to take out Israel. He's nearly succeeded. He and Putin have nearly succeeded. Moving an embassy from Tel Aviv to East Jerusalem has done zero for our security. Do you understand that? It's done nothing. I'm an Israeli, by the way. It's done nothing for our security. Do you understand? Bop, bop. The only thing it did is it pissed off our enemies. And now the door is open in the north because Trump opened the door by pulling U.S. troops out. Stop being emotional and telling yourself you're being logical. If you are part of a super PAC and you're putting $45 million towards this guy, you need to tell me, not the other way around. It's not my job to teach you your faith. If I'm wrong, debunk me. No, you proposed an argument that this is the guy. It's your job to justify your argument, not the other way around. Because I also do math. And I'm not invested. I'm not compromised. I don't have a multi-billion-dollar industry compromising me. So I can assure the business people who think that Trump is going to get us to peace. He's going to help support Israel. You're living in a freaking dream world, people, because I use this technique and profiling to do math, and then I send it to governments, free of charge. I don't take a dime for this stuff. Phase 1, get to ceasefire. Phase 2, exchange of hostages. Phase 3, rebuild using Oasis. Phase 4, we cannot get to peace until we take Putin out of leadership in Iran, because he's not a peace negotiator. This is not a working mathematical equation. It's just a fantasy, and you need to realize it's a fantasy. Do you understand? It's just a fantasy. You're being emotional, and you're not looking at data. And the data is, this guy is not the guy that's going to create peace between East and West, and he's going to use the money, the profits from any deal you make, to take us out in the next couple of years. That's objective reality, because he hates us. And if you think that because you're going to get some temporary or some new trade deal, these people are going to stop hating us, our guts, again, I'm sorry to say this, you're living in a fantasy world. And if you look at phase, again, I spent a long time on this. If you come up with different math, then have at it. I was pretty damn objective. Phase 5, we have got to dismantle Iranian leadership. I'm not talking about shooting them in the kneecaps. A soft coup. It's a good start with the VP pick, but he still doesn't want to acknowledge the state of Israel. These are not people who we give money to. These are not people. There is no deal to be had with Iran and Russia so long as their leadership looks the way it does. And if this is the direction that American business is going, if this is where the energy is, then you can be sure Trump is going to get elected, and you can be sure that the safety and the security of Israel over the next 4 years is questionable at best. Because a stronger Iran is not good for the future of Israel. A stronger Russia after October 7th, people need to wake up, is not good for Israel. Not with this leadership. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure and share, like, subscribe, think about membership. It's a great way to support the channel, and we'll see you next time. Be well, everyone. Thank you again, and good night.